Hey everyone, chaomix here. Sonic can run and jump. That's it. That's the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Okay, just kidding, but not about that first part. When you boil down Sonic's abilities to the most basic fundamentals, these are the two essentials to any platformer. You gotta be able to move around and jump over things. That's like the bare minimum of the genre. Sonic is pretty cool though because he can do a whole bunch of other things besides just running and jumping. Depending on what Sonic game you're playing, Sonic is equipped with different sets of abilities. And over the course of all of his games spanning over 30 years, he's built up quite the arsenal of moves. Some iconic, and others extremely obscure or forgettable. Some available right from the get-go, some bought in shops, and others unlocked by exploring hub worlds or secret sections of levels. So today we'll be looking at just about all of Sonic's abilities and ranking them on a tier list. Which ones are the best? Which are the worst? And which ones let Sonic outrun the fear of being alone forever? I can already tell you now, subscribing to chaomix is an S tier ability. So if you aren't subscribed already, make sure to do that to avoid being sent straight to the F tier. But without further ado, let's rank every Sonic ability. Before we start digging into this, I need to lay out some ground rules. We'll be using this tier list to rank each ability. If you haven't seen one of these, it's basically a list categorized from S to F. S being the greatest tier and F being the worst. I'll be ranking each ability into a specific tier based on several factors like its utility, its fun factor, its strength within the lore of the series, and even its aesthetic. I also want to loosely explain my definition of ability. I'm not going to include running and jumping because, like I said before, those are a given for pretty much any platformer. There's a ton of actions Sonic is able to perform in each game, but small and redundant things like the various tricks from Sonic Riders or the attacks from Sonic Battle won't be counted in order to make this list a bit more concise. But don't worry, there's still a lot of abilities I'll be going over, ranging from super iconic to extremely obscure. And finally, I'll try my hardest to take into account all games and variations of the ability when forming my opinion. For example, the Lightspeed Dash is handled a bit differently across the various games it appears in. Some handle it kind of poorly, others a lot better. So I'll try to factor in all depictions of the move to come up with an all-encompassing ranking to fit it into the tier list. Also, if you guys want to try and rank these yourself, I'll leave the link to the tier list in the description. And when you're done making it, join our Discord and share it with me. I'll be sure to check it out. I'll have the Discord link in the description as well. So with all that being said, let's finally dive right into it. The roll. Sonic's moveset in the original game is honestly pretty limited, especially when comparing it to some of the more recent games. He's trying his best though, okay? Besides running and jumping, there's pretty much only one other ability he's able to do. By pressing down on the D-pad while being on an uneven surface, or with some momentum, Sonic rolls into a ball and lets gravity take over. This can be used to gain a lot of speed when going downhill, and it also basically turns Sonic into a rolling buzzsaw, destroying any enemy he comes in contact with. He's even able to break certain environmental pieces to discover shortcuts or secret items. The roll is pretty consistent across all games that Sonic is able to perform it in. It's a very simple move but a huge staple to his moveset. It doubles as an attack and a method of gaining a ton of momentum. However, it's very reliant on slopes, more specifically downward slopes. Rolling on an upward slope will just reverse your momentum and have you going backwards. It's our first ability and it's going into the B tier. The spin dash. You ever wanted to go up a slope but God said, First introduced in Sonic 2, this ability lets Sonic rev up into a ball and release himself at full speed ahead. After being released, it takes on the same properties as a roll. This move is great for gaining momentum on a dime, especially in narrow areas where you can't easily build up enough momentum to get over certain obstacles from a standstill. Instead of having to manually and slowly build up momentum to overcome a slope, you can just rev up a spin dash and instantly gain enough speed to leap over pretty much anything. Ever since its debut, it's pretty much been an essential to Sonic's moveset. The spin dash can definitely be pretty overpowered in some games like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Generations, but even in most other games, it's still an extremely solid move. The only downside is that in most games, you have to come to a complete stop in order to rev it up. This can cost a second or two of time and also requires you to be on a flat surface, or else you'll start to roll. The spin dash is a definite A tier. The peel out. Introduced in Sonic CD, the peel out is very similar to the spin dash, but like bad, at least in terms of utility. It's performed the same way except by pressing up on the D-pad instead of down. Sonic winds up and blasts off at high speeds once released, exactly like the spin dash, so it's basically just as useful for gaining momentum on a dime, even if the startup is a bit slower. However, it isn't an attack, so you're completely vulnerable if you collide into an enemy. Also, it doesn't build up momentum by going downhill as fast as the roll after a spin dash. The only real upside is that it looks rad as hell. It's got that sick figure 8 effect on Sonic's shoes, and it's one of the first times Sonic goes so fast that his arms just flail behind him. Unfortunately, the peel out is going into the D tier. Supersonic.
Supersonic, baby!
After collecting all 7 Chaos Emeralds, Sonic has the ability to transform into Supersonic. In appearance, Sonic's quills point straight up and his blue turns into gold. Supersonic is impervious to enemy attacks and gains heightened speed. However, this form isn't without consequences. He's still able to succumb to drowning or being crushed, so he isn't entirely invincible. This form also needs a constant intake of rings, as each second drains Sonic of his ring count, and when it reaches 0, he reverts back into his base form. This ability is only granted from the Chaos Emeralds, so it's hard to even obtain in the first place. Definitely not an ability as accessible as the roll or spin dash. But when it is accessible, it's all over. Sonic's super form is almost always used to take on the final boss of each game, so you know it's extremely powerful. Supersonic is going right into the S tier. Hypersonic. Like Supersonic, Hypersonic is another transformation that grants a heightened state of speed and power, but even more so. His appearance is exactly the same as Supersonic, but instead of a gold color, he flashes in 7 different colors. One of his abilities might as well be inducing seizures on his opponents. Hypersonic is able to kill all enemies on screen merely by double jumping. He has basically the same limitations and flaws as Supersonic, except he's able to breathe underwater actually. Compared to Supersonic, this ability is even more difficult to obtain. Not only do you have to collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, but you also have to collect all 7 Hyper Emeralds. On top of this, Hypersonic only appears in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It's been stated that this form isn't technically canon, which is probably why we haven't seen it return in any other game. But I definitely think that this adds to the novelty of the transformation. Hypersonic is going straight into the S tier. The Insta-Shield. In Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic can create a shield around himself for a brief moment by pressing the jump button again after jumping. This can be used to extend your jumping hitbox out a bit further and deflect certain attacks, like bullets. When deflecting attacks, the timing has to be pretty precise and it really doesn't hold many benefits. It's much easier to just, move out of the way of the attack, but sometimes you'll get put in a situation where you aren't able to. In this case, the Insta-Shield can be a good choice, but I can probably count the amount of times I successfully used it, not by accident, on my hand. It just isn't really an exciting ability and its utility is pretty limited. For these reasons, I gotta put the Insta-Shield in the E tier. The Drop Dash. Something originally prototyped but cut out from the final game of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the Drop Dash finally found its way in Sonic Mania. And let me say, it's extremely difficult for me to go back and play the classic games without this ability. I will never forgive Sonic Team for not including this in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. You done goofed. One of the biggest momentum killers in the classic games came from landing from a jump, but the Drop Dash lets you spin dash instantly as soon as you make contact with the ground. There is 0 downtime and it gives you all of the benefits of rolling. You can also use it to immediately reverse your momentum. I really can't think of any downsides to the Drop Dash if I'm being totally honest. I personally think it deserves to be in every Sonic game from now on, even the 3D ones. The Drop Dash is a total S tier ability, hands down. Hyper Mode. Not to be confused with Hypersonic. This is an X-Factor type move from Sonic the Fighters that trades some of the player's available shields in order to gain a huge boost in attack speed and access to certain hyper moves. Bro, how is this game not featured at EVO? It would have been so hype. Hyper Mode is a solid ability. It just enhances everything that Sonic can already do and even grants him new attacks. It gets to go into the B tier. The homing attack. In order to combat the added challenge of depth perception when transitioning into 3D, the homing attack was created. This has Sonic automatically home in on nearby targets when using his double jump. These can be enemies, items, or interactable stage objects like springs. They can even be chained one after another, leading to the homing attack becoming a way to cross over bottomless pits if there's a trail of enemies, for example. It's a great mechanic not only for attacking enemies, but also platforming. Since Sonic Adventure, the homing attack has become a crucial move in Sonic's arsenal, and has been in almost every single game since. The homing attack for sure belongs in the A tier. The Lightspeed Dash. This is a move that has been handled a bit differently from game to game, but the main function is almost always the same. Sonic is able to dash through a trail of rings, which also gains him a ton of speed. In Sonic Adventure 1, you had to stand still and charge up the ability for a good few seconds before being able to perform it. Talk about momentum killer. But from Sonic Adventure 2, they cut out all the wait time and assigned the entire action to a single button press. Lightspeed Dash go. This is one of my personal favorite moves from the series, but it can be a little unreliable depending on what game you're playing. In the earlier games that feature this ability, you'd be able to use it on any trail of rings, but this could sometimes lead to the mechanic not really working as intended. Sometimes it just wouldn't work at all, or you'd go only through part of the trail, not the entire thing. In the more recent games, this mechanic has been better curated for specific sections which prompt you to use it. It's more limiting, but it ends up working more consistently. Overall, I think the Lightspeed Dash deserves to be in the A tier. The Lightspeed Attack. Similar to the Lightspeed Dash, Lightspeed Attack has Sonic charge up and release for an automatic chain homing attack flurry on a close group of enemies. It was never upgraded to a single button press like the Lightspeed Dash in any future game, so charging the attack up is always required. And by the time you completely charge it up, you might as well have just taken out every enemy by yourself and then made a sandwich. It'd probably be faster. On top of that, the attack is just as unreliable as the Lightspeed Dash can be in certain games. Some enemies will just be missed altogether, or you'll even sometimes circle around the enemy for an awkward amount of time before actually hitting them. The Lightspeed Attack goes straight into the F tier. The Somersault. The Somersault is a move from Sonic Adventure 2 that has Sonic perform a somersault. This move is kind of infamous for being a complete momentum killer, which isn't a false statement. However, the somersault is more so meant to be an attack, or something to show off at parties, like me when I was 8 years old trying to show everyone I can do a front flip. Sometimes you want to roll into an enemy, but the spin dash is way too fast and unwieldy to aim. The somersault is the perfect action to use in this situation. It's easy to aim and has a few follow-up attacks depending on how many times you press the action button. You can also do a flip jump out of it if you jump while holding forward during the animation, which can preserve some of the momentum from the end of the attack. Or if you jump out of it without holding a direction, Sonic does a backstep. I've never used the backstep in an actual scenario to dodge an attack, but the fact that it's an option is pretty neat, I guess. The somersault also gets an upgrade that gives it fire properties, but this doesn't really do too much besides allow you to break different types of boxes. All things considered, I think the somersault fits into the C tier. Rail grinding. Rail grinding is probably the sickest mechanic to ever come from this franchise. Introduced in Sonic Adventure 2, where Sonic had his famous soap shoes, which were placed in the game last minute as a really neat product placement, Sonic could attach himself to horizontal rails and use a mix of gravity and balance to ride down at insane speeds. If you knew what you were doing, of course. Holding down the action button makes you crouch, which pretty much multiplies the acceleration. When making turns, if you repeatedly tap in the direction Sonic is turning, Sonic will stay balanced upright. Combine both of these techniques and you'll be able to gain an unbelievable amount of speed. It's a really fun mechanic that took a lot of inspiration from the skateboarding culture that was so popular around this game's release. This move just makes me want that cool Sonic skateboarding game that was cancelled. Although Sonic still ain't got nothing on Tony Hawk. But even in games preceding this one where Sonic doesn't have his soap shoes, he's still able to rail grind. Unfortunately, I don't think any game after Adventure 2 got rail grinding to feel as good though. It isn't bad in any other games, but it does lack the depth that made it so amazing in Adventure 2. The entire balance mechanic seems to be missing and replaced with a single button tap, which just has Sonic do the shuffle animation to gain a bit of speed. You aren't able to build up as much speed in these games, which can make certain rail grinding sections drag on for quite a bit. But despite this, I think rail grinding deserves an A tier ranking. The Bounce Bracelet. This ability has an airborne Sonic curl into a ball and bounce downward, ricocheting himself back up like a basketball. The more bounces you do, the higher up he goes, with the highest bounce being taller than Sonic's normal jump. The bounce attack can be used to reach places he normally wouldn't be able to reach without it. This ability seems a bit simple on the surface, but it's actually kind of insane once you learn some of the tricks it can do. One of the more common tricks is combining it with rail grinding. If you bounce down onto a rail, your vertical momentum converts into horizontal momentum as soon as Sonic attaches to the rail. This can give you an insane speed boost, which can be maintained with proper balancing on the rail. Another really cool trick is known as the Super Bounce. To do this, spin dash towards a wall, and then jump and bounce as fast as you can and as close to the wall as possible, and Sonic will completely launch himself into the air. This allows Sonic to scale over walls he was never intended to, and can lead to some crazy shortcuts. This trick is used a lot in speedrunning because of how powerful it is. The Bounce Bracelet deserves its spot in the S tier. The Mystic Melody. This ability is used to unlock secret paths or open secret doors hidden throughout the levels in Sonic Adventure 2. So what can you expect to find at the end of these mysterious new paths? Pretty much nothing interesting. It's mostly used to help you complete the extra missions if you're trying to collect the emblems. Yeah, the Mystic Melody is F tier trash. Sonic Wind. In the 2-player versus mode of Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic can perform a move called Sonic Wind after collecting a certain amount of rings. This sends a blue vortex to surround the opponent player and hit them for damage. The hit can definitely throw off their groove or even smack them off a ledge if you're lucky, but it isn't really anything too threatening. It's definitely a pretty unique type of ability for Sonic though. He's able to just wave his hand and summon a blue vortex from nothing, which is something straight out of Dragon Ball Z. I think Sonic Wind fits into the C tier. The Magic Gloves. Probably the weirdest ability from any Sonic game. Sonic is able to shrink and trap weaker enemies into these tiny clear balls, which we can then just chuck against a wall or over a cliff. To even perform the move is kind of an annoyance though, since you have to stand still and cycle through your actions until you're able to choose the Magic Gloves ability. It takes a few seconds to do, and usually enemies will be shooting at you while trying to navigate to it. The Magic Gloves can go straight into the E tier. The only reason they aren't in F tier is because they're kind of funny. Look at this guy right here. Chaos Control. Chaos Control allows the wielder of a Chaos Emerald to harness some of its power to alter time and space. It's most famously and often used by Shadow the Hedgehog, but Sonic has also shown himself capable of utilizing this ability. It can be used in gameplay to stop time on your opponent, which is a good technique for gaining the advantage in a race or holding them still to attack them. Unless they know the secret about waggling the control stick to make it go by faster. Shh, don't tell him that though. But the true power of Chaos Control is usually depicted in the lore and cutscenes of the games. It can still be used to freeze time like in gameplay, but it's often used to warp the user to other locations. It's even been used to intercept the entire space colony arc from its collision course towards the Earth. The Chaos Emeralds are capable of incredible miracles, so it's really awesome to see their powers being used for other interesting abilities. Chaos Control goes straight into the S tier. Sonic Heal. In Sonic Battle, Sonic is able to heal himself by vibrating the molecules in his body. It takes a bit of time to charge up, but it's a pretty interesting move that hasn't really been seen in any other Sonic game. The fact that Sonic can control the vibrations in his molecules is a pretty rad idea. Sonic Heal is a pretty unique ability that fits right into the C tier. The Slide, also known as anti-gravity for some reason, is an ability found in a handful of Sonic games. It's very similar to the roll, but just a different animation. Which one looks cooler is just preference. It can be used to attack, build speed down slopes, and also duck under certain obstacles. I think the Slide belongs in the B tier just like the roll. Rocket Excel. An ability exclusive to Sonic Heroes, Rocket Excel requires Sonic as the point character and has Tails and Knuckles boost Sonic forward for an incredibly fast slide kick. This move requires a bit of finesse because for the maximum effect, you need both Tails and Knuckles to be present. Sometimes the AI scatters them away from you, so it can be difficult to find the perfect situation where both are able to boost you. If you only get one of your two partners to boost you, you won't be able to see the full effect of this ability. Guys, please just... It also needs to be charged up and released at just the right time, but at least when you're doing this you can still move, unlike charging up the Lightspeed Dash in Adventure 1. It's very similar to the Spin Dash and properties after you launch yourself. You damage enemies and accelerate very fast when going down slopes. The Rocket Excel goes into the B tier. Sonic Tornado. Sonic Tornado is another move exclusive to Sonic Heroes. Sonic spins around in a tornado, which is able to reveal enemy weak spots, attach to vertical poles, and even gain some extra height if used at the apex of your jump. How does Sonic just not throw up from all the spinning he does, dude? It's not really good for damaging opponents, and a lot of its combat functions can be entirely replaced with Knuckles if he's leveled up enough. It also has a pretty slow animation which takes away all control from the player for a few seconds, breaking the pace of the level. I think the Sonic Tornado belongs in the C tier. Team Blast. The final ability exclusive to Sonic Heroes. The Team Blast is able to be performed by building up the team meter. This is done by destroying enemies and getting rings. Once fully charged, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles unleash a barrage of attacks on all enemies within your near vicinity, but the animation goes on for so long. It's like the Lightspeed attack but even longer. You can probably make like 3 sandwiches. It's really useful for large groups of enemies, however, especially the ones with shields or armor that require some finesse to be able to damage in the first place, because the Team Blast is basically a one-shot for any basic enemy in the game. I'd say the Team Blast goes into the D tier. Dark Sonic. A form exclusive to the Sonic X anime. It's a form with a similar appearance to Super Sonic. However, the gold is replaced with pure black and Sonic loses his pupils. Basically the equivalent of false Super Saiyan from Dragon Ball Z. This transformation doesn't require the use of the Chaos Emeralds, but rather the immense negative emotions of our otherwise cheery blue hedgehog. Kinda scares me. He's able to slice through and pummel enemies so quickly that he doesn't even appear to move. This is a form that we've barely scratched the surface of, so it's hard to judge it based on the limited appearance it makes. He literally only appears in a single scene that's like a minute long. I'm gonna put Dark Sonic in the B tier because of this. The Spin Kick. The spin kick is very similar to the somersault from Adventure 2, however it seems to sustain momentum a lot better. One of the downsides would be that it doesn't have as many branching options at the end like the backstep or the air flip you can do at the end of a somersault. But honestly, these moves are so situational that they're basically never used anyway, so I wouldn't really consider it that big of a downside. Overall, not really that exciting of a move considering we already had the somersault, until you remember that it can do this. But the spin kick probably fits right into the C tier along with the somersault. Shoe gems. In Sonic 06, you're able to purchase gems to modify your shoes and gain custom abilities. There's a lot of them, so I'm going to go over them somewhat rapid fire. The green gem, aka Tornado, has Sonic breakdance to create a vortex that damages all enemies and objects surrounding him. It has kind of a long animation and you're completely stuck in place during the entirety of it. The area of effect isn't that great and it doesn't do that much damage honestly, so it's going into the D tier. The red gem, aka Slow, slows down time. It even slows down the in-game timer, so it's great for getting S ranks because the points are earned based on how low the timer is by the time you complete the level. However, it also slows down the rate at which the camera turns, so it's a bit inconvenient for players to use sometimes. I'd still say it's a solid B tier ability. The blue gem, aka Mach Speed, gives you a quick boost in speed every time the ability button is pressed. It can be completely spammed, but beware that it becomes extremely hard to control Sonic as the controls become insanely sensitive when turning. You'll often find yourself bonking into walls most of the time, which probably wastes more time than it saves. For this reason, I'm putting it into C tier. The white gem, aka the homing smash, is an ability I literally never knew the purpose of until I had to look it up. But apparently you can aim and automatically chain homing attacks to nearby enemies. It's kind of a stronger version of the homing attack that you can charge, but its utility seems extremely situational. There's just something about these abilities that you have to charge up that doesn't feel so great in a Sonic game. I gotta go fast, not wait around completely stopped in my track for a handful of seconds. I'm gonna put this one in the D tier. The Sky Gem, aka Gun Dive, has Sonic chuck a gem into the air and then follow its path as soon as it lands. And let me tell you, Sonic will follow its path, even if there's a concrete wall in the way. This gem can be used to clip through pretty much any wall because it's that insanely powerful. You can explore tons of out of bounds areas in the game by using this gem. It's a definite A rank. The yellow gem, aka Thunder Guard, is basically the electric shield from the classic games. It can magnetically attract rings and absorb a single hit before disappearing. And the best part is you can basically keep equipping it at no cost, meaning once it disappears you can literally just press the button to activate it again. The only issue is most deaths in Sonic 06 aren't caused from getting hit with no rings. The real enemy in 06 is literally everything else. I'm willing to put the yellow gem in C tier though. The purple gem, aka Scale, shrinks Sonic down to a teeny tiny little Sonic. It also shrinks his hurt box, meaning he becomes a smaller target for attacks. But best of all, for whatever reason, he can jump infinitely. He can just keep jumping and jumping and jumping until you literally leave the skybox. I have no idea why, but it's just the way this gem works, and it's amazing. You don't even have to touch the ground in a level when you're using this gem. You can literally just fly over everything. The purple gem is actually going all the way up into the S tier. The Skill Ring. The Skill Ring is a piece of equipment Sonic gets at the beginning of Sonic and the Secret Rings that lets Sonic level up and earn certain skills, similar to an RPG. It also sets Sonic's nipple on fire. Yeah, you're gonna need some ointment for that, buddy. But this unfortunately makes it so that basic things like making your game have good controls are locked behind earning skills, because this game is extremely sluggish in the beginning. Kind of a terrible game design choice in my opinion. But once Sonic gets a lot of the essential skills, he handles a lot more responsively. Some of the notable skills include Iga Slider and Hyper Skimmer, which are some of the skills I mentioned that completely change the way you fundamentally play the game for the better. Another neat set of skills are Speed Break and Time Break, which speed Sonic up really fast or slows down time respectively. Considering everything the Skill Ring can offer, I'd say it goes into the B tier. Dark Spine Sonic. This is a one-shot transformation from Sonic and the Secret Rings. Instead of transforming into Super Sonic with the Chaos Emeralds during the final boss like usual, Sonic absorbs 3 of the 7 world rings, Rage, Hatred, and Sadness, to transform into Dark Spine Sonic. Due to the negative emotions associated with these rings, this form influences Sonic to be more aggressive and violent than he normally would be. And I gotta say, the design definitely reflects this. He's able to use Speed Break and Time Break, and also has control over fire, wind, and darkness, the elements connected to the 3 rings I mentioned earlier. He's also pretty brutal with some of the finishers he does on Alpha Super Razor Jin. That's his name now. God, the name of this guy's final form is a tongue twister. Dark Spine Sonic is actually a really sick form, but it's a shame that we've never seen more of him. I feel like he has a lot of potential. I'm also super curious what kind of form Sonic would take if he absorbed all 7 world rings, but as it stands now, I'd say Dark Spine Sonic is an A tier ability. Caliburn. A sentient, sacred sword of a legend, and the main gameplay mechanic of Sonic and the Black Knight. Tell me, do sentient swords feel grief knowing that they're used as tools of war in order to take the lives of countless living beings? The answer is yes! Being a Wii game, you already know there's going to be a ton of motion controls tied to gameplay, and this is where the sword comes into play. Sonic has a ton of abilities with the sword, a notable one being the Buzzsaw homing attack, which can chain into multiple enemies in quick succession if timed correctly. Another really cool ability is Soul Surge, which can either allow Sonic to use Speed Break or rush attack enemies using perfect hits. The only real issue with Caliburn is how stop and go it can feel to use. It breaks the flow of the game sometimes, which is a really important aspect in Sonic games in my opinion. There's a lot of depth into the mechanics of Caliburn actually. I could probably make an entire length video talking about them, but we'll leave it at this for now. Caliburn gives Sonic some solid A tier abilities. Excalibur Sonic. This is another transformation that borrows the power of the collection of a certain set of items, this time being the 4 sacred swords. In this form, it actually isn't Sonic that transforms, but his armor. He might as well not even have a sword. This guy's armor looks like it could just poke your eyes out. Like Darkspine Sonic, this is another one-shot form that only appears in Sonic and the Black Knight. You aren't able to play as him outside of the final boss level, but from what you can play, he's incredibly powerful. Think Super Sonic but with a sword. He's able to channel all of his energy into his sword, dealing devastating blows to his opponent. Just because of his limited appearance, it's hard to really tell exactly how powerful he is. So because of this, I think it's safe to at least put him in the A tier. The Boost. First introduced in Sonic Rush, it's an ability that uses meter in order to boost forward at breakneck speeds. You're able to continuously use it as long as you have enough meter. The way this meter is filled up depends on the game, but usually it's by doing tricks, destroying enemies, or collecting rings. The boost is incredibly versatile. It can be used for pure speed, to destroy enemies and objects, and even run on water. You can also abuse the boost via glitches called D-Speed and M-Speed. These are super precise inputs that let you break the speed cap while in the air, and send Sonic soaring at speeds unrivaled in any Sonic game ever. The boost hands down belongs in the A tier. The Stomp. A very useful move from the boost formula games that has Sonic stomp straight down, destroying all breakable objects below him. This is a great move used to align yourself on platforms or instantly cut off all your momentum. Sometimes you need to go from Sonic speed to precise platforming, so having a way to completely halt all momentum is a very important tool. It's a very simple yet effective move, so the Stomp is going into the B tier. Drifting.
We're initial D in here, baby!
Another move found in the boost formula games. Because turning while boosting can be a bit stiff, drifting is sometimes necessary to cut sharp corners. In some games, it can be a bit loose, which can have Sonic falling off the ledge, but in others, it's pretty good. I'd say Sonic Generations handles it the best, as it's a lot tighter and more responsive compared to the other games. The drift can also be abused to gain a ton of speed in certain corridor sections. The drift joins the rest of the abilities in B tier. The Sidestep. This move is used in the boost formula games to quickly realign yourself to the left or right. That's it, that's the move. It's surprisingly helpful, but nothing super revolutionary. So I'll rank this one as C tier. The Werehog transformation. In Sonic Unleashed, Sonic becomes cursed by Dark Gaia and transforms into a werehog whenever the sun goes down, a form that trades Sonic iconic speed for devastating and powerful attacks. He's also got little stretchy arms. He has a ton of combos and moves, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll be lumping everything together as just the Werehog transformation. The Werehog can punch, kick, pile drive, and perform a whole bunch of other comedically violent attacks on his opponents. He's also able to use his Unleashed meter to go berserk and increase his attack speed and strength for a short amount of time. The Werehog is a pretty powerful form, but it definitely has its limitations compared to normal Sonic. He isn't as mobile, which means he's constantly forced to have to brute force his way through hordes of enemies. The Werehog is going into the B tier. The Wisps. If you know me well enough, you'll know where I stand on the subject of Wisps. I don't really like their designs, and their inclusion in any game outside of Sonic Colors just kind of annoys me. But if I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, some of them do give Sonic some pretty cool abilities. There's a ton of them, so let's do another super quick rapid fire for each individual Wisp. White Boost. They fill your boost gauge, something that should honestly just be done by collecting rings. D tier. Yellow Drill. Lets Sonic speedily drill underground or underwater, but kills him if you run out of the boost meter if you're still underground. C tier. Cyan Laser. Aims and shoots Sonic forward in a zigzag pattern. Can bounce off walls and do some pretty cool trick shots. B tier. Blue Cube. Literally the worst ability of all time. He changes blue rings into blue blocks and has the lamest design of anything ever. I hate this Wisp so much, he's going into his own tier. G tier for Get Good. Green Hover. This Wisp lets Sonic hover and lightspeed dash. C tier. Pink Spikes. Transforms Sonic into a spike ball that can stick to the walls. He can spin dash and travel along the perimeter of the level. C tier. Purple Frenzy. Sonic becomes a hungry hippo and devours everything in his path. This one is actually one of my favorites. E tier. Violet Void. Turns Sonic into a black hole that eats everything in front of him, becoming bigger and bigger each time he eats something. B tier. Orange Rocket. Transforms Sonic into a rocket that shoots straight up and can destroy certain metal walls, otherwise blocking his progression. D tier. Red Burst. Lets Sonic perform multiple jumps in the air by exploding. B tier. Indigo Asteroid. Creates a gravitational pull that sucks things into its orbit. It becomes bigger and bigger with the more objects orbiting around it. E tier. Crimson Eagle. Turns Sonic into an eagle that can fly for a set amount of time. B tier. Magenta Rhythm. Transforms Sonic into a musical note that bounces around. E tier. Ivory Lightning. Sonic becomes a lightning bolt that smashes into things. D tier. Gray Quake. Turns Sonic into a ball of iron that can climb up walls and create earthquakes that damage enemies. C tier. Black Bomb. Sonic becomes a giant bomb and explodes. B tier. Jade Ghost. Brief invincibility. B tier. Whew, why are there so many of these little bastards? Parkour. Sonic Lost World introduced us to the parkour system, and it's something that unfortunately hasn't ever been expanded on since. It's an interesting idea, and I think the mechanics suit Sonic pretty well, but it doesn't really have any depth to it besides being able to cling onto a wall for a few seconds or slowly run up a wall and grab onto the edge. I think there's a ton of missed potential here, but as it stands, the parkour system is pretty mid at best. Because of this, and until it gets expanded on in the future, parkour is going into the D tier. Double Boost. An ability that lets Sonic and the custom avatar character from Sonic Forces boost forward side by side, destroying all objects and enemies in their path using the power of friendship. It's also apparently powerful enough to open warp holes to escape alternate dimensions like null space. Despite how boring it is to use in game, the implications of its power are pretty big. Because of this, I'm going to regretfully put Double Boost in the A tier. And that's everything. And here's what the entire tier list looks like. I never really truly realized just how many abilities Sonic had until making this video. It's actually kind of insane. And now that I've sorted them all out, you can really see that Sonic has a ton of really great abilities towards the top of the list. He doesn't really have too many terrible ones, all things considered. And this makes total sense. Sonic is a character that's already the best at what he does, so he needs moves that empower him to prove this to the player. I really like the games that give Sonic a super expansive moveset. So I hope someday in the future we get a game where he's completely decked out with all of his best moves from each game. And who knows, maybe 10 years from now, existing abilities will be refined, or we'll get a handful of new moves and I'll have to update this tier list. But until then, this has been the official chaomix Sonic Abilities tier list. Hey everyone, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you like what you saw, hit the like button and subscribe for more weekly content similar to this. In the comments below, let me know if you agree with all of my rankings or if you would change things around. Also, if there's some ability that I missed, let me know what it is and where you would put it on the tier list. To take this discussion even further, make sure to check out the community Discord, link in the description. Also, I'd love to give a huge shout out to my backers. These are them, they're pretty cool. You guys are the biggest reason I'm able to keep putting out content on a weekly basis. If you're also interested in becoming a backer and earning some cool perks, click the join button beneath this video or check out the membership link in the description of this video. And finally, I'd love to give a huge thanks to my friends, GamerBlake90 and ChickenWingJohnny, for helping me edit this video. It was a bigger one, so I needed some extra hands on it, and these guys were more than happy to help out. These guys also make some great Sonic-related content, so be sure to check them out as well. I'll have links to both of their channels in the description. And with all that being said, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Peace.